Somehow I have to apologize. I know Sunday is your busy day, because you have things going on your side. I just want to let you know, like, can you hear me? Can you hear me on your side? Can you hear me perfectly?
Yeah, I can hear you well. And
Yeah.
you? Can you hear me well? There's no
Yeah, no, I hear
background
you.
noise of my
No, not
dishwasher.
really.
Okay,
Not really, not really, not really. Everything
no,
seems to be
that's good.
fine. I would assume you're obviously alone at this point at home.
Yeah, yeah. By myself, Jeter is now home. I think he went to an event, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
home by myself.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm always blown away by the way you guys are always doing something, and I usually like to call them uh, community build up parties or community build up
Yeah.
or community get togethers. And Jeffro is the only person that kind of reminds me how I got to meet you. So Jeffro
Mm,
was Jeffro. I met Jeffro when we started when I started skating, and we met at one of the skating event. And then after that, he told me about like, hey, he does poetry and music and stuff like that. And through him, I was introduced by another friend of ours, Sarah. And Sarah, obviously, I work closely now with. We obviously doing a certain project, and Sarah
mhm.
got me to one of the conferences where I got invited, and that's how you gave me the opportunity to perform. I never got to
Yeah,
ask you, but you always told me you appreciated when I performed for you guys there.
yeah.
I don't know what's your recollection of how we first met, but do you remember anything of how we first met in the first place?
I think uh, I don't remember the occasion in which we met in person.
Mm.
Uh, I definitely don't remember in which of the events it was, but I remember when Jethro first told me about you and he showed me like you mentioned that the poetry, and I think that's yeah. Now I didn't know where you guys met, but I just knew that he yeah like because we usually like when we're planning something we do
Yeah,
this exchange in which we're like, okay, we're planning this. Who do you think it would be a good fit for this? Who do you think that we should invite? And we just bring these different names to the table of people that we have met along the way. And
yeah,
yeah, we do this exchange. He introduces me to people that he met, and I introduce him to yeah, usually like let's say through social media, like showing yeah, this is the guy, so that we can see the profiles, the face, and if there's any content, we go through it together and like okay, no, this is a good match. So I remember, and I think that was in 2022 or 21.
21, 22, more or less. Yeah,
21, I think it was 20, 21, definitely. I think it was, yeah, I think it was 21.
yeah,
So, yeah, and I remember that clearly when we were preparing something and he mentioned, oh, there's this guy. And I think he called you like Levi, the poet. And
yeah,
yeah, so that was the first time that he brought up when we were planning for the event. Yeah, and
yeah.
then after that, yeah, we saw just. I think we connected the first time in person. Then, so other friends in common, and yeah,
I must say, all the link ups and all I guess I would say the events that you guys have planned, it's always worked according to the way you guys have seen it. I'm not sure. I want to ask you this as a question in terms of
hmm
because at this point you are kind of like you do fall into the category of an event planner, right? You do plan
yeah,
events.
you see,
Would you
yeah.
say that there is some challenging points? Like, what is the challenging point of like planning these sort of events? Because we've planned quite a lot, and I've attended to quite a few of them. I've
hmm
attended to the one at the gardens where we do like community
Yeah,
outreach. Yeah.
yeah.
What is the most challenging part? Tell me, because I need to know as well.
Those were yeah the garden picnic is basically like our flagship event, at least of the ministry here in Cape Town. Yeah, and yeah, those were so simple and straightforward. But the biggest challenge with those with outdoor events is the weather, because
Yeah,
in Cape
well,
Town
kept that weather.
you can't predict the weather, and even when you check 2 weeks in advance and you plan something and you announce it, then on the last few days, on that same evening, like the evening before the event, the prognosis will be different, and the weather just changes, and people start texting you early in the morning hey guys, usually a cousin of ours, it texts us and like, hey guys, did you check the weather for today? And you're like, yeah, that was the first thing we did. So, and then when we check, it's gonna rain.
Yeah.
So since 2017, I think this has been like one of our biggest testimonies that from the first event that we planned, it was supposed to, yeah, the weather was supposed to be nice and chill, but then I think it was around August or September. It was a sunny day, but then suddenly the weather just changed. It was going to rain for the next 2 or 3 days. And usually we would go like visit the place or the park 2 days before. Let's say if you have,
Yeah.
oh, let's say if you have on a Saturday, gonna go there on a Wednesday and just check the venue. We go there on a Wednesday and it's the weather is perfect, it's sunny, just specifically on the spot that we're planning to be.
Yeah.
Next day it's raining. The following day is raining, so that means on Saturday it's gonna rain as well.
Yeah.
And we just take time in prayer, like not sometimes like not even praying about the other elements of the program, just praying that God will give us good weather for the outdoor
Yeah.
events. And
Mm.
and then on the day things change. It can start like the day can start raining, and then we confirm people we're still doing it. And as we move on faith, we just get there and it stops raining. And there's this song, Jethro song, that
Yeah.
says, when we praise, we change all the atmosphere. I remember
Yeah.
2017 in August, the first time that we did the Gardens picnic.
Yeah.
It was not. It was supposed to rain. It didn't rain. The other parts of the city were raining besides the company gardens, which was crazy. But the moment we were
Mm.
singing the song, how great is my Lord, and so powerful is the name of His Son. And then when we get to the second verse, and when he says that, when he pray, we change all the atmosphere. It started pouring just on that second verse. Imagine like
Wow.
we it was sunny as we prayed, but when we
Yeah.
started worshiping and got to this part that changes the atmosphere, it started pouring, and there were more than 30 people there on that first event, and everyone was just looking up to the sky like this, huh? And as we finished the song, it stopped pouring again, and people just look at us and like, there's no need to comment. You know what just happened.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not the dynamics of outdoor events, but indoors, most of the time, I think it's just last minute challenges in logistics, like if there's some like equipment that is not working properly, or someone that
Mm.
doesn't have transport to get to the venue, or even when we are preparing for the event and we have to be responsible for transport of everyone that is coming to play in a band, because we're not paying them at
Mm.
the end, but at least we cover the transport for the practice. And sometimes we don't have money, and we just praying that God will help us through it. And God always
Mm.
provides enough money for transport for everyone. And when the event finishes, then there's people that don't know how to go home as well, and we have to find money for the transport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but besides, apart from that, I think usually when it comes to venue, it's always we've been blessed that there's always a place to do it. Equipment, somehow, yeah, there's always good and enough equipment. The people are flexible, they work with us, and the Holy Spirit is always present. There's no surprises, and
I
yeah, so I
wanna. I
think
wanna. I wanna
statistics.
touch on that
Wait,
point
just to
quickly.
confirm, are we recording this? Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
It's
you sure
already
it's
recording.
recording?
Long
Okay,
time
okay.
already.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't see any sign as in Zoom and the others, but okay, that's nice.
No, it's recorded on my side. I like that
Nice.
because it takes you in naturally without you even knowing. So you just started
Yeah,
talking.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
been 9 minutes. 9 minutes in already recording.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
I will share. I will share the
Mhm.
video as well to you so you can see it as well. But it's amazing, man. I
All
want to
right.
touch on the part because my channel that I'm trying to grow is about
Mm-hmm.
Christian in ministry and in business as well. And I'm trying
Okay.
to bridge between the two. How Christians can become influential in the marketplace, as in like
Yeah.
God has called us to live the life of a Christian, but also to be of service to other people. And like the reason why I also reach out to you is because you are one of those people who are doing kind of that. You know, you are called to ministry, and also you are called to doing service, and also you're doing it in such a way that even anyone who's in business like myself can learn from that and kind of see where I could, do or learn something that can help me to kind of motivate me to do the same, and I want to touch a bit on that like point of logistics, and whenever you plan in an event, right? Do you mind like taking us through exactly how you go about just even in brief? You don't have to go in detail, but in brief,
Mhm.
like from the point where you schedule the date, where you scheduled who you actually speak to, your partners or whatsoever. How does the whole process work until the end? And sometimes even doing it without money. Like, could you just like
Mm.
briefly explain that? Because I know that's a challenging part
Yeah.
also. But how do you do it?
Yeah. To start, I've been doing it for quite a few years. And so then at this point, some things are not like scripted. So they just happen like very spontaneously and naturally because it's like muscle memory. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So like when you've been doing something for so long.
yeah,
So might be challenging like for me to remember like the specific order, like the flow or the planning. So Jeter and I like started like planning or hosting mostly creative events back in Angola in I think between 2013, 14. We're still very young at the
mm,
time. Like we were
wow,
surrounded by other creatives, and there was very few platforms in which people could showcase their work. So we started creating those platforms. Jedra would present his work, and I had put my own artistry basically in standby. And then I started like being more inclined into the planning of the thing and doing and allowing Jedra to how can I say to facilitate the sessions or to present his work, and I would just do the emceeing as well.
mm,
So now, on a logical sense, I think the event starts when you conceive the theme and why do you want to do something, or what do you want to get out of that event. Then when we set that, then we start defining the way and the who. So yeah, when we know the theme, then we know what will be the more appropriate venue for that. Or even yeah, just thinking of the venue. It's not only the let's say the physical space that is permanently there, like the walls and the decoration and all that,
yeah,
but the movable things that will bring as well, like in terms of layout and decor.
yeah,
So the way is very important. Like just think of basic things like light and sound. How would that be aligned with the theme as well? So that's why we opt for sometimes either indoors or outdoors. That's where it comes from. Depends on what we're trying to achieve with it in terms of the
mm,
theme. And then the who is going to be presenting, who we're gonna put on the lineup of speakers or performances or exhibitions and things like that,
yeah,
and as well the public, of course. Who is that theme for? Who is that conversation for? And yeah, and then that help us like the curatorial process. Yeah, that's where it starts, like the theme, the place, and the people that will be there. And then comes the more practical questions about the logistics on if you're responsible for people's transport, like for rehearsals or setting up the sound system, or yeah, choosing all those elements. And when we don't have the resources and stuff, like let's say like from our own pockets, we think if we're going to get contributions from the people that are working with us on that event, if we're going to collect money from them, or
mm,
if we're going just to reach out to our pastors, which are also our mentors, to whom we report all the events, if it's fully, or let's say, yeah, I think all of them are spiritual in essence, faith based,
Yeah. Yeah.
and at the same time creative.
Based.
Yeah, so we always go to them and say, yeah, this is what we're planning to do. This is what we're planning to do. This is how we're planning to do it, and this is how much it's gonna cost us. So, and then they tell us how much they can put in, and then if it doesn't cover everything, then we find another avenue, another stream to get those funds. And usually it's from the people that are, I think, let's say in the past mostly, was usually from the people that were working with us as ushers and all that. Someone would contribute to something, or so what cuts the cost most of the time is using the resources that people around you already have. So
Mm.
thinking like using your social capital basically to reduce the costs. So so I always like we always keep note of who has which or what equipment, and when it's time to to hold something, then we know who can we reach out to and how much it's gonna cost us if we have to pay or not. And if we can't afford to pay, then we find a way of including us people strategically in the program or in the whole process in a way that benefits them, so they are willing to invest or support with the equipment. So I
Yeah.
think that that's how it goes most of the time. Yeah.
I kind of like that last part. It sounds like a very good way to network with other people, like where
Mhm.
you ask them, okay, we want to use. If, for example, if I were to give an example, I would assume, if, for example, a venue, that the person who owns that venue, you could tell them, we want to use this venue for this particular event, but what can we do to help you or contribute to you, so that we're not just using it for free, so that it also helps you.
Yeah.
And maybe that person will say something like, oh, I host small parties every week. If you could tell your audience that they can also come to my parties every week, that will help me a lot. I guess that's how I see how you could obviously incorporate that as well. But it's really interesting, because I like to think that same way as well. To use like the
Yeah.
resources that you have around you, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually when you get to the part where you are able to afford to use your own items, then it's much more easier.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you brought up Angola, so now I wanted to ask you that question also.
Go there. Let's
You
go
travel,
there.
you travel, you've traveled quite often. Like since I've known you, I think I've only like heard three times where you were not here in South Africa, then you were back in Angola, and then you came back again. You travel back and forth a lot. What's challenging about that? What do you like about that? Because I have not been traveling.
Okay, so wait, since
Yeah,
no, since I know each other, I only went to Angola once. Since let's say from since 2020 that I like finally settled here, only went to
yeah.
Angola once, which was last December, and
Oh,
the other 3 years prior to that, it was Jetro and Nisa that were always traveling to Angola in December or throughout the
yeah,
year. Yeah, and most of the times it's just to like renew the documents or like renew the study visa or or just visit.
yeah,
Most of the time. In my case, last year was mostly for work for some projects, so I had been quite some time without going, so it was just to do like in-person follow-up and like touch base with the team that is still working
yeah,
that side, hosting same kind of events or same kind of programs with the youth on
yeah,
that side.
mm,
So, and when I went, also talking about the challenges as you asked, I
yeah,
think the first challenge was to determine for how long or when would I live and how long would I be there, because I wish could stay longer, because I was only there for a month and it was very very tight. I'll get in details now. And then I had to come back. So I left early or mid December, and I had to come back early December, mid January, if I'm not mistaken. So it was quite tough because I'd been 3 or 4 years without going, and then going only having 1 month was challenging. So what I learned from that is that I should go more often, at
Yeah.
least once a year. And I was planning to go this year, but this December, but I may not be going anymore. So this was the first thing that I learned. I need to go more often so that there's not many things piling up, and then having 1 month to sort out everything. So when I arrived in Luanda in one
Mm.
day where we are based, where we live, and
Yeah.
uh, some things going on as well, the same projects and our churches as well. The following day, or yeah, 2 days later, I left to another province just to visit family and run some errands that my dad had asked me to. So then we went to another province as well, like just traveling, like doing a road trip and yeah, sorting out some things. Then I went back to Luanda like 4 or 5 days later for the festive season, Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
And we had quite a few events going on that week. And as soon as those events finished, and remember, I was there by myself because my parents, Zetro and Isa, were here in Cape
Yeah.
Town. I was there by myself in that period. As soon as the festive season finished on the first or on the second, I had to. Oh, I know. I waited a couple of days for my parents to go back to Angola so that I could leave the church and the other things that I was responsible for while they were out. As soon as they arrived, the next day I left again to for another road trip to the one of the provinces that I'd been before,
Yeah.
and I spent there maybe another 3 or 5 days. Then I went back to Luanda, and I traveled the next day to Cape Town.
So
So
much traveling in one, so much traveling in a short period. Like, was it
it
like
was
within a period of how many months? How many
it
months
was
did it
just
take?
1 month that I had, so I had to, yeah, and then so I basically didn't spend almost any time with the family because when I arrived, they left. When they left, when they came back, I left as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
So it was quite rushed, and especially because of that, because I had left so many things, or I'd planned to do so many things, catch up on so many things that I'd not seen or followed up in person for 3 years. So it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
maybe I need to be there more often. So yeah, so there's no overload.
How are you juggling between living here and traveling there, and then it sounds like you don't work. Like you have your own projects going on. Are you working? Are you what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? That's the thing that I want to know.
Good question. Yeah, so until last until early this year I was working, but not full time, only part time, so that I could also handle the study. So I'm still studying. I finished this year with an
Mm.
advanced diploma in architectural technology, ACPT.
Mm.
And I've been studying full time all this time. Although it's quite difficult for some people to believe that I'm an architecture student and I do so many other things, and then they ask me
Yeah,
how do you manage, where do you
completely.
find time?
That is not.
And
I wouldn't believe that. I didn't know that because
I
you
said,
look like someone. Yeah. Now you're telling me you're in the engineering world, STEM world. You look like someone who should be in business, either in business or you do so many things that it's hard to place you in
yeah.
one box. Do you ever
No.
notice that?
Oh, that's good to know then. That's what I was striving for. And but yeah, I'm a design student now, or an architect or engineering. I think it's somewhere there in the middle.
Mm.
And still I have all these other things going on, and the question always comes at how do you manage? Because people are not used to seeing engineer or architecture students that have a that they have a, let's say they have a life basically, yeah. Because most of the time it's just like you focus and you dive in and you don't have time for anything else, and
Yeah.
there's whole nighters and so on, and that's the studio culture when you're studying architecture or any design engineering related course. And with so many people asking me the same question over the years. I've I've not been able like to sit down and write and like see clearly how do I do it. I'm still figuring out. I need to map the whole process so that I can
You
have a
should
clear.
write a book after you graduate. You need to know the secret.
Yeah, I think then I have way too many books in the pipeline. But yeah, so that's a conversation to maybe for later.
Yeah.
And but one thing that I've identified is that the what allows me or makes it possible for me to for or complete my studies and work in different projects and um, still having this commitment with the ministry work, which is what initially brought me here to South Africa, is having my priorities right, or at least in that space I can say that my priorities have been set long ago. So I know that I came here to work, right? And
Mm.
which is first in the ministry work. And with that, so I plan everything around that. Even the study. So I knew when I wrote that I will. So let's say if you like people that are studies in their 40s, their 50s, and they have a family, they have kids, and they have other things going on. So they plan their lives around the family, around the biggest responsibilities that they have, and then they find time to squeeze in the studies most of the time.
Mm. They do that.
So yeah, and that's how I saw it at first, and that's how I planned my years, knowing that I would I will study, but understanding that what brought me here is a ministry work and I need to be faithful on that and deliver as much as possible. And gladly the having the understanding that the ministry can take various shapes and forms. So it's about the priesthood, like being serving at church, or in the kingship, like being in the marketplace and allowing God
Mm.
to use in that space. And as well, being at school is also part of the ministry, being there and engaging with people, having the platform to preach through your testimony on a daily basis with the people that are around you every day and
Mm.
not just on the weekend. So yeah, that
Mm.
was also like as part of the ministry and making time initially for the other projects and then for studies as well. And with the other question that you asked, so then what do I do? So it's initially the ministry work, the which can be in the form of events or collaborations with different local churches, missionary agencies as well, and some NGOs, and then also and the studies that come most of the time second,
Mm.
and in other projects as well that I jump in as like as a architectural professional, as a consultant sometimes at different projects, or some business ventures as well. I had mentioned that I ran a architecture competitions platform called Now Design Competition,
Mm.
and yeah, just jumping in or supporting other people, like jumping in as a consultant in different projects or in different ventures that other people have, and
Yeah.
they see or believe that I have some value to add to their planning and and strategy, or strategic planning. This is the area in which I'm more in. So,
Mm.
and that's how I jump in the spaces most of the time. And last year, besides the studies, I was also working part time with a company called Bitprop. So we
Yeah.
build backyard rentals, mostly in the Cape Flats. So we partner
Yeah.
with homeowners and help them to turn their properties, or like let's build backyard rentals in their flats. And I was working with them part time,
Mm.
and that and earlier this year I decided that I would need to drop that responsibility or that work, so that I
Yeah.
could focus or invest a little bit more time in studies, and as well in the other voluntary work that I do as well with different organizations in the
Yeah.
architectural space or
Mm.
advocacy groups as the yeah as the African Union of Architects that I'm the head of the Southern region for the student committee.
Oh wow,
And
nice.
yeah, and at
Mm.
Young Urbanist, which is a local NPC, and but it's focused on mobility, transport, housing, planning. So yeah, so within those groups, it's on a voluntary basis, but high level, yeah, commitment.
Mm.
And yeah, to juggle all those things. Yeah, so then I stopped like
I must.
working time and just
Yeah.
having hands in different projects. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. That's a lot of things actually. Now that you even break it down like that, it raises
Yeah.
many more questions.
That's good
Raises
to
many
hear.
more questions. Yeah.
There'll probably be
So
a part
so
two to this conversation. Eh?
there has to be. There has to be. I'm definitely gonna
Yeah.
invite you again. We have to expand more on that. I
Okay.
want to touch on the aspects of obviously your, let's call it, engineering side, right? What's the
Yes.
potential like in terms of like the work that you do? Is there a lot of potential? Is it a field that calls for a lot more young Africans to take part in? Because you've worked in a lot of projects, right? You've worked into, I guess you're doing a lot of things that maybe you might need to expand on into second, maybe if we have a second video like this. But
Yeah.
right now, I just want to ask you that question: like, is there potential to call a lot more young Africans to dive into that kind of field? Or is it already oversaturated? Is it something that's oversaturated? We don't need any more young people there. Well, what do you think?
So, for context and on my answer, I would say that I entered the space because of the work that I was already doing
Mm.
in the art, like coming from the arts industry and then being into youth empowerment and community development back in Angola as well, which was and then aligned with the ministry work, and then these brought me to South Africa, and
Yeah,
then the opportunity to study again came, and then I saw thinking if I should study or like invest in my study like something that I was passionate about or something that would support the other work that I was doing. So my two options were studying fine arts, so like as a visual artist, and invest in my own artistic career,
yeah,
or having a technical skill that would be great that would be a great addition to the work that I was already doing in the community space. So
mm,
understanding that a spatial design or architecture falls under that interior design and urban planning. All those courses fall under spatial design. And so with that clarity or understanding that spatial design also has an impact in people's lives and decision making and so on, like the impact that our surroundings have in us. So
yeah,
yeah, so that curiosity led me into the architectural space because I see it as a tool for the work that for the other work that I'm doing. So it
yeah,
was never in the mindset as many have of I want to be an architect. It was
mm,
more I want to have the architectural skills, or I want to be in the spatial design field so that I can have those tools to support my mission or my purpose or the work that I'm already doing.
mm,
So that also defines my approach to the field in the
yeah,
architectural space. So then I find myself more into conversations about design in a more theoretical way, and considering how do we like the curriculum and the whole education, how is it conducted, how is the knowledge disseminated, and the impact that it has in people's lives. So more sociological approach,
yeah,
and also bringing more of my advocacy work into that space. So, as in any other field, there's quite a lot of challenges, but there's also many opportunities. And one of the biggest challenges, I say, it's the way that is the like the architecture is taught. So it leads people into being in that space of not having social life and being frustrated, and yeah, and it's an exchange between being a critical thinker and a problem solver that doesn't have a social life. So
That is very harsh to say.
yeah, no, but it's a fact because that's the studio culture that we get most of the time in architecture school. So you have very great critical thinkers and problem solvers, but don't know how to deal with people, don't know how to communicate because the pressure forces you to isolate, and then you know how to solve problems, but you don't know how to engage with the people that are dealing with the problems. So, and I
Yeah,
think that causes a bigger problem,
it
right?
does. It even does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no point.
So,
It's no point.
mhm.
It's like it's no point. I guess I would say it's no point studying medicine, but you never really saw a real patient, or you've never met a real patient. You just know
Exactly.
you know the theory, but you don't know the
Yeah.
practicality of what you studied. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like you gain technical skills, but you lose the soft skills. And the soft skills is what make us human, and what drives or what determines our destiny, our success in any space are the soft
yeah,
skills, not the technical skills.
absolutely. Not the technical
And that's
skill.
for sure. So that's most of it. So that's my perspective and that's my approach, and that's what I say, that there is a lot of opportunity in this space, especially
Yeah,
for people that are passionate about bigger conversations, not only about technical drawing or artistic drawing, but bigger humanistic or sociological conversations, because architecture bridges many disciplines as politics, economics, and design, and so on.
mm,
So there's an opportunity for people to study architecture coming from different fields, from different backgrounds, from other disciplines, study architecture so they can learn the critical thinking and the problem solving and other skills that architecture school teaches you, and most of the times in a very difficult way because of the pressure of deadlines and so on,
yeah,
and fellowship as well that you build in a community when you're both going through big challenges or big discussions,
yeah.
and dealing with criticism as well, which is something that is normal and very welcomed in the
Hmm.
architectural field, so that youth and or young people, Africans, can also have can also, with that tool, with those skills, take
Hmm.
it then to other spaces.
Yeah, I see.
I mean, I'm so technically I'm saying we don't need to have architects that are only architects that
Yeah,
only do architecture, but it's nice for people to study architecture so they can take those skills and apply in other fields as well,
yeah.
so that we can leverage from that skill set the architecture school offers. And development in Africa is continuous, and there's so much space to
Yeah,
be in. And if people can borrow this the skills from this discipline and take it to other spaces, or even in the built environment, if preferred, then there's
mm.
definitely a lot of room for that. Yeah.
Dieudonné. No, man, this was a very great conversation. I learned so much, and I'm
Thank you
looking at
very
the time right now. Like, I should probably let you go, but I want to ask you the opportunity to come
much.
back again because I want us to discuss and
Really
expand more.
nice.
The
Yeah.
question that I prepared to ask you, I didn't even get to ask them because you just put me into a whole nother world, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is great.
Never wait. If you
So
have
much with
I
content.
still, I don't know about your time, but I still have time. So because we started
Yeah,
slightly late as well, I think
yeah,
15 minutes after the time. So
yeah.
I'm still alright with the
I,
time.
I I would like to bring you on. I would like to bring you on again. But I want to ask you one
Okay.
last question. Maybe this is a
Go
I
for
guess
it.
let's call it the last question just to like
Okay.
lay the foundation per
Okay.
se.
Okay.
Your name is Dieudonné. Dieudonné is French. How do you define your name, and what do you tell people when people think about you as a person? Like, who is Dieudonné, if I may ask? Because this is a question I
Hmm,
asked my previous guest as well. Who's Dieudonné?
okay. Interesting one. I didn't see this one coming for sure. And so with the name, has Africans name giving is quite a special and very significant thing. So I always go by, like most of the time, or you see almost everywhere, Dieudonné Eloyhim, then my surname Da Costa. So reason being that my my names, or like my personal names, are these, so Dieudonné Elohim, and I
Mm,
try to carry both because it's a full package, right? And then the surname, because my other names are, yeah, family names, but I have these
yeah,
two names. So Dieudonné has put the meaning and the translation, God gave or gift in simple terms, and
yeah,
then Elohim. When I use Elohim without Dieudonné, or when I just use Elohim, sometimes I get different reactions. Like people, like, wait, isn't that God's name? Yes. When Elohim is a name, or it's one of, oh, it's God's name, and one of the most sacred ones that the Jewish don't even pronounce. They may write
yeah,
it, but they
yeah.
don't even pronounce
Don't
it.
pronounce it. Yeah, yeah.
Because of how sacred it is. And then Dieudonné, French, and then people ask, "Oh wait, so you French, but you speak Portuguese, or you from Angola, or
That's
are
my.
you Portuguese, or where you from?" So with the meanings are clear, right? God gave, and then just for clarity and for redundancy, so you don't wonder which God gave. We're talking about Elohim. This is a gift from Elohim, the Almighty, the Sovereign One, the Exalted One.
Mm.
And so always define the name itself as a conversation starter.
Nice.
Is the name itself, or the two names are conversation. Either if I go by Elohim or Dieudonné, it's a conversation starter, and I think that's the reason God gave me the grace of being called by His name, so that every time that I meet someone and that I mention my name, there is no way that the conversation will not drift or be steered into talking about God and who He is and what He means to me and what He has done in my life. So it's always an opportunity to share my testimony, especially when I tell people that I used to run away from using Elohim specifically. I used to run away from using my full name, Dieudonné, because I was not ready at the time. And only when I started building a relationship with God, then I understood that this it sets the foundation for bigger
Yeah,
conversations. So, and now I think that also defines me as a person, as a gift. So gifts are meant most of the time to bring joy. So I
yeah.
think, I'm confident that most of the time I am a very joyful and happy person with so much gladness because of what God has done for me.
Mm.
So the testimony is always accompanied by that, of being always smiling, people asking like, "Why are you so happy? Why are you smiling?" Like, my name says it
Oh,
all. Like, yeah,
always.
like God has done so much for me, and I can't keep quiet.
Yeah,
So if it's not to have this kind of conversations, that in which something that is edifying, I'm always a very quiet person.
yeah.
When it comes to a topic that will build, when it comes to something that will edify in the professional, academic, or spiritual or social space,
Mm.
then I'm a very talkative person,
Okay.
which is a huge contrast. And like, okay, most of the time I'm quiet,
Yeah,
and until it's necessary to speak, until it's time to pour from what God has poured into me. So,
yeah.
and I think that does define, me, and justifies the name.
Dieudonné Eloyhim. No man. It's a pleasure having you, man. I hope I want to
Thank you.
invite you again to another session, man. I would like to have a discussion like this. Do you
That
accept
would
my invitation?
yes, with both
Ah,
thumbs.
absolutely,
Yes,
man.
I
Thank you
would
so much for
delighted.
coming. All right,
Yeah.
that will be it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. Till the
All
next
right,
time.
bye.